Okay, so now we're going to discuss how our eyebrows can be measured properly using a ruler, or we just need to get that concept behind the measurement or the symmetry of eyebrows. Okay, so I have with me just a piece of paper and a ruler, a regular kid's ruler, and I also have with me a bi-touch ruler because this one has guide holes and it will help us to make sure, or it will help us with our shape, and it will also help us to make sure that our eyebrows symmetric. Okay, so as you've seen in the earlier video, our eyebrows is composed of three lines, horizontal lines, meaning the bottom of the brow head, the top of the brow head, and the arch line. So I'm going to find that bottom, top, and arch. I'm going to make three lines, which is 1/4 of an inch away from each other. So if this is my first line, I'm gonna find my 1/4, which is in the middle of 1/2. So if this is 1 inch, this is 1/2. In the middle of this would be 1/4. So it is 2.5. So 1, 2, somewhere here. So this is my next 1/4, and obviously this is my next 1/4. So I mark 3 dots, which is 1/4 of an inch away from each other. So I'm gonna make my first line. The line is long enough to draw 2 eyebrows. Then my next line. So this is just estimation because when we're talking about faces, we can't really draw precisely where the 1/4 is. So to make sure I look like a bit higher on one side, so to make sure, I'm gonna measure that here. So I am indeed a bit higher on one side, so my line should only last up to there. So there. These are my 3 lines. All right. Let's try to remove this. Okay, so when you have 3 lines, you imagine that this is your bottom. Okay, so this is my bottom of the brow head. This is my top. And of course, this is my arch line. All right. So we have averages when we're measuring eyebrows. Okay, so they say that the average between 2 eyebrows is 1 inch. So this is our 1 inch. This is our 1 inch. I'm gonna mark on my 1 inch. Right. They also say that from the head down to the tail, we have 2 inches. So I'm gonna mark my 2 inches. There you go. And the average from the head going to the arch is 1 inch and 1/4. This is my 1 inch and 1/4. 1 inch and 1/4 on the other side. Right? So we are talking about averages, only averages. So we say this is the start of our brow head. This is the tail. And this is our arch. Okay, so we are imagining this is our eyebrows. So again, from the head to the tail, the distance is 2 inches. Right? From the head to the arch, the distance is 1 1/4 of an inch. All right. Again, these are just averages and it doesn't necessarily follow for all face shapes. We are using the average measurement on our paper so that we will continue to practice and practice drawing eyebrows and keeping in mind how we can achieve symmetry. And so I did 2 more of those 3 lines so we can start drawing our eyebrows. Okay, we will start with soft eyebrows. Okay, they say the characteristic of soft arch eyebrows is that the bottom of the brow head is lower than its tail. Okay, so we're gonna start drawing those three dots: head, arch, and tail. Head, arch, and tail. Okay, even if you don't have this bi-touch ruler and you only have your regular ruler, just remember that the head distance is 1 inch apart. Okay, and then the head to the tail is 2 inches apart, and then the head to the arch is 1 inch and 1/4. So that's where our arch is. Okay, so again, this is our head, arch, and tail. All right. So for soft arch, the characteristic is the bottom of the brow head is slightly lower than your tail. So that means if the bottom of your brow head will start here on the first line, then your tail should not reach up to the first line, but somewhere around just the middle of your middle and first line. Okay, so if this is my head and I draw my eyebrow to my arch, I should end up somewhere just on the middle of the bottom of the brow head line and the top of the brow head line. So if my eyebrow is 1/4 of an inch away from each other, then this will be my thickness. Okay, and then I draw all the way to my tail. All right, so to make that nicer, there, that is my soft arch. So I am able to do this soft arch because I put my bottom of the brow head line, my top of the brow head line, and my arch line, and I made the distance to be 1/4 of an inch away from each other, and then I marked where my head, my arch, and my tail should be. Now I'm gonna do that on the other side. So I'm gonna end somewhere in the middle again. So I'm gonna try to sketch my brow. That's my tail. And this is the 1/4 of an inch thickness. So I go all the way to my arch. And again, go back to my tail. Alright, so that's the other side of my brow. So as you see, these lines will help you create the eyebrows that you want. So this is normally where you do your strands or your shading, depends on what kind of brow you want. So now that we've done soft arch, we're gonna proceed with, let's say we want to make a more archy version of this. Okay, so I'm gonna mark again. The middle should be 1 inch apart. My tail should be 2 inches. 1, 2. And my arch should be 1 inch and 1/4. So the middle of that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So somewhere here. Middle of this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 2.5. Somewhere here. There. So that again is my head, arch, and tail. Alright, so this time I am going to do a more archy brow. So this is my bottom of my brow head again, the top of my brow head, and my arch line. They say that high arch eyebrows, the bottom of the brow head and the tail is either on the same line or the tail could sometimes be lower, depends on how archy do you want it to be. So if I do that, I sketch it again from the bottom of my brow head to my arch line all the way to my tail. And 1/4 of an inch thickness brings me to here to here. And sketch it all the way down to my tail. There. Since this is archy, I'm not making my arch round. I am actually making it very pointy or very defined. There you go. That's my archy eyebrow. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Let me see. I'm gonna make my tail on the same level as the other side. So I'm gonna start here, sketch my way up here, and sketch my way down here. Alright, so I've probably estimated I'm gonna do this a little bit under my bottom of the brow head to match that one. So with my 3 lines, as you can see, you are able to achieve symmetry because the bottom is the same, the top of the brow head is the same, and the arch line is the same. Okay, if you see some differences, then you can adjust, like if you want to reach this to make this higher a little bit to be the same on the other side, or if you want to make the head lower to be the same of the other side, you can do so because you have those 3 lines. If you're just estimating and trying to draw, no matter how good your hands are, without those guidelines, you won't be able to achieve symmetry. Okay, so we will be doing, so now we did soft arch and we did high arch. Now we're gonna do straight because that's very famous for Asians, and also the upward straight or the upward soft arch. So I'm gonna make 3 more lines like this. 1/4 of an inch away from each other. That's my mark. Doing the same thing on the other side. This is 1/4 of an inch away from each other, and another 1/4 of an inch. There. I'm gonna do 3 more like this. There. So I am going to do straight. This is very famous for Asian countries like Koreans or Japanese or Chinese or even Filipino. And we're gonna do upward straight. And lastly, we're gonna do upward soft arch. Alright, to find my head, I'm gonna mark my 0, my 1 1/4, and my 2 inches. Again, 0, 1 1/4, and 2 inches on the other side. Alright, so as you can see, this has a 1 inch distance from each other. Okay, for straight, there is no curving or arching of any kind. If there is, it will just be very, very little. So from your head all the way to your tail, you're just gonna make a straight line. As you reach your arch area, you can lift it a little bit if you want to, but not too far, and then you go all the way straight back to your tail. So this is the bottom of your brow head. It's very simple to create. As for the top, you do the same. When you reach the arch line, you go up a little bit. But then when you reach that arch area, you go all the way down. So if you notice, there's hardly any arching. Hardly any arching. That is what you call straight eyebrow. We didn't get to use our arch line because it doesn't go up all the way to your arch. It just lifts up a little bit. Same with the other side. Lift up a little bit here on the arch, but not too high. And I go all the way back down. Okay. Some cultures will find this unattractive, but some cultures love it. So it is good that we know how to draw. We know all of this so we can match our client's preference. There you go. Okay, so what about upward straight? Okay, some cultures again like this. For instance, the Chinese believe that this is good feng shui for them, so they do this upward straight. So again, we mark our head, arch, and tail. Let me use the regular ruler this time so you won't get too dependent on that by a touch ruler with guide holes. So again, the distance between the heads, 1 inch, 2 inches on the tail, and 1 1/4, which is here on the arch. 1 1/4. There you go. So again, these are just average measurements. Not everyone has this measurement, okay? So now we do the upward straight. What is the characteristic of the upward straight? It is straight, just like your first eyebrow up there. But the difference is when you reach the tail area, you don't go all the way back to your first line, but you go higher, right? So it will be upward. So we'll do a straight line. All the way to our tail. All right. So our top of the brow head, we're gonna reach this part perhaps. But as we go down to our tail is somewhat higher than the head. Be careful not to make the tail too thick because we want the head to be thicker than the tail actually. So let me just draw that. Let's see. Alright, so that's the difference between the upward and the straight. They're both straight, but as you can see, the tail of the upward straight goes up higher. Positive feng shui. Okay, so we did the other side there. Now we're gonna do the upward soft arch. All right, for our soft arch that is upward, we're also gonna end up higher. We're not going back down here, but we'll end up higher so that the eyes can look more open. So you start from your head, then you arch a little bit above your arch line, and then you reach your tail. So you still have that arching, but you have that curve and arching happening as opposed to this very straight eyebrow over here. There, so you have that curving. So that's the difference between the two. Okay, so what you can do a lot of these lines. You can practice your straight, your upward straight, your soft arch, your high arched, until you get to that level of confidence that you have already memorized how to make sure that your bottom of the brow head is symmetric, your top of the brow head is symmetric, your arch is symmetric. Because sometimes when we don't do this line, when we skip these lines, we end up one side higher than the other. For example, here in our upward straight or our soft arch, sometimes if you don't use these lines, you start probably higher here, you end up lower here, and you curve up a lot lower here compared to the other one. So you are creating two different designs, right? So that one, your head is lower, or it can be the same, but your tail is much lower as compared to this one. If you don't do these three lines, if you don't do and measure these three lines, you will be confused. One side can be higher than the other side. And permanent makeup lasts about 2 years, and there's no way, or it will be very hard to erase one side to lift it. So what we want is for you to make very symmetric eyebrows from the very start. There's a good way or an easy way to do this on real people, so you have to move on to the next video to check it out.